Okay, out here we've got our 12-volt awning, which operates from inside the van control panel. Essentially, it's this little control panel here. You want to switch this button to on, and you want to press tap extend. And once you tap extend, the awning will start rolling out. Before we do any of that, we want to turn the power on to the 12-volt system, and then we come over here. This should be in the off position. We turn it on and we hit extend, and the awning will start rolling out all by itself. Rightio, so we come out here. Because I've got the van on a bit of an angle, this is unfurling, but it's not actually dropping out. So you just go along and give it a little bit of assistance. By hand. There we go. And she rolls out by herself. And that's the awning put out, and to put it away, it's just simply a matter of pressing the button again to put it away. Now, it's a very still evening here that I'm filming this. We don't even have really the leaves moving in the trees. You see that? Just about still. My recommendation is, with this awning, is if there's any more than a breath of wind, you don't want to put it out without tying it down. And tying it down, there's a little bit of a process too, which I'll run you through now. But essentially, we'll skip that just for the second. We'll go to packing it up, just so that you've got that sorted. So we would come back in here, we would hit the retract button, and it's just a click. And then it starts rolling back in by itself. You'll see it rolling in. The van's set up flat and level. It normally rolls back in without a hitch. I've got it on a little bit of a slope here because I'm at home and we didn't quite set it up ready for camping in. And that's it. That's the awning put away. It's that simple. So I roll it back out again, just to show you the troubleshooting on that once more. So we hit extend again. And this time it's rolling out on both sides by itself. Didn't need to give it a little bit of assistance by hand. And we want to get to a point, if we watch this end up here, you'll see there's a groove that comes past. That was it there. Again, there's the groove. And in essence, what that groove is, that groove there, go back again when we get the chance. It's another groove just like this one. We want to get that, not that one, the one that's on top up here, to line up here. And the trick with that is, you have your partner, or whoever you're traveling with up here, just pressing this button, like that. All right? And that'll get it to the point where this groove lines up. As you can see, lines up with that. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just got to be close. Right, so the reason you want that groove lined up is because we have a sail track that goes in here. It slides in here all the way along, and the sail track looks like this. Interesting to do with one hand, but we'll give it a go. Right, so that's the sail track, and this silver screen essentially slides in like so. Slides in and you pull it along. It's usually helped with two hands, with somebody else feeding it from the other end and somebody pulling it along, and that'll give you the screen all the way along. You want to put that in first because it needs to go in first. That's step one. The reason it needs to go in first is because there's a hole on this side which needs to rotate slightly to be about here after you put that shade track in. So we get that rotated by coming back inside here, pressing that again, and then that's rotated basically to be parallel looking with another little bracket that's up the top here in the corner, that bracket up there. So what we do then is we come down to our little caddy down here, which has got our poles in it. These are the support poles for the awning. We chuck in our curved rafter. There's a bracket on this end, goes up there, hooks in, comes across here and hooks on into that hole, and then we tighten the thumb screw up there, and that's it, connected up across there. We do the same on the other end. What that one does is it stops this bar from moving this way, and then we've got to put some vertical supports in to stop it from moving this way. Now, if we don't do the shade first, we then need to rotate this drum in order to get the shade in, and we can't rotate the drum because we've already got this locked in. So we have to do the shade first if we're going to do the shade, but if you're just going to set up for the evening, you probably don't need to bother doing the shade. If you're just going to put the awning out for an hour for dinner, you don't even need to bother with the curved rafter, provided it's not windy. If it's windy, you got to tie it down, because if this awning blows away, it'll be considered as you've caused damage to the van, and you'll have to pay for a replacement, and they're about $3 grand to replace if they get totally destroyed. It's about $1,000 just for one of the arms, so just so you're aware. Okay, so the next thing we have is we have these telescopic black poles or posts, and they've got a couple of little foot with a hole in the bottom, and they screw up, and you throw one end under the curved rafter and one end on the ground, like so. And that gives it the vertical support down to the ground. And then what we do from there, I'll just try and zoom in, see if I can capture this. So I can show you what's going on. Rightio. So we get one of these blue ratchet straps. And typically pop it over and back onto itself. It doesn't necessarily need to tie around this orange foot, but if you want to, you can go around a couple of times, back around the orange foot. The orange foot's just a little plastic bracket that sits on top of the pole, so there's not really much point in tying it off to the top of the drum. Really, what you want to do is you want to tie the drum down to the ground. So you tighten the ratchet strap up to a point where it's about a foot off the ground, and then we've got these trampoline springs, look like that, and these hex pegs. And you drive one of the hex pegs into the ground. So drive that down into the ground, find some soft stuff to put it in, and then you hook the trampoline spring on the top of the hex peg, and it sits up like this. Ratchet strap onto the top of the trampoline peg, like that, and then you can pull it tight and get the tension in the system to tie the awning down to the ground. And do that at both ends, and one at this end and one at that end, and the same with the curved rafter at both ends before you start tying the thing down. And then if you've put the shade sail on, the shade sail's got these series of loops at the bottom, and you just go along and you whack a series of these orange pegs into the ground, and we've got a whole little guy ropes with these plastic tie-offs on them, and you have 4 or 5 of those to the bottom of the shade. With that shade on and the tie downs at each end and the stabilising curved rafter brackets and stabilising legs in place, you're probably good for 30 or 40 km/h winds. Just keep an eye on the weather report, and if it looks like there's a gale blowing in, it's always a good idea to spend half an hour, 20 minutes, taking it all apart, putting it in. My advice is, if you're going to pull up for the night, I probably wouldn't bother putting it out because it's a little bit of an effort. But if you're going to be there for 2 or 3 nights, pop it out, tie it down properly, and you shouldn't have to touch it again. Like I said, keep an eye on the weather report if there's a serious storm coming in. Generally, a good gauge is if everybody else in the campground's putting their awnings away, it's probably a good idea for you to do it too. Yeah, and that's more or less it in a nutshell. The reverse order to pop it away again would be to take the ground support poles out and the blue straps off, take the curved awning rafter off before we start rotating the drum. Don't forget to do it at both ends, otherwise it'll make a horrible noise and probably damage the drum. So we take that out like so and drop it off at the other end. They drop out like so, and then we just drop that one off, and then we go back inside, press the button, and it should put itself away. There we go. And that's it. And you don't need to tie it off or anything. It sits on a little bracket in the middle there, and the motor's locked off and holds it back against the van while you're driving. So that's it. If there are any questions on the awning setup or tie down, I can run through those at handover for you.